It's that time of year. Everybody has a lot going on. So thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. We have some very exciting news coming up. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm just priming the pump, but we have some great news. So please stay tuned for that announcement. I can't wait to announce it very soon in the next few broadcasts. And I hope everybody is having a wonderful time, staying healthy. Benjamin just got out of the hospital with pneumonia. So he's here, and thank God he's okay. He came out okay. He spent 3 lovely nights here in Santa Fe being taken care of, but he's back, and we feel very fortunate for that. So today we're going to talk about
how to tell when a guy is really into you
and wants a future, sees a future with you.
Mhm.
This is a big one because so many of you get so in your heads, you're so confused, and you overthink these things. And sometimes you really miss these incredible signs that a man is into you because you're so in your head, overthinking and overanalyzing things, that you're missing some of these beautiful gestures that men are making. So, honey, let's talk about this, because one thing I do want to say is that you were so lovely when you pursued me. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced before in my life. And I was astounded at how different it was having you court me as opposed to some of the other men who had courted me before. You were such a gentleman, and you made me feel so safe and secure about everything that I never wondered if we were going to go on another date or if you were interested in me. So let's talk about what some of those things were that you were doing in those early days when you first started courting me, because you knew pretty early on. How soon did you know that you were interested?
Well, I knew with our first date, you know, I think in over 20 years, I've never, ever been late except on a first date where I just got lost. And um, you were so kind and not shaming. You know, when I finally got reception to the restaurant, you said, I'm just here enjoying myself. Take your time. And it was so, it just opened up the door, you know, that we could just be with each other without blaming. And it was almost like the foundation of our relationship.
So that very moment, like when
Yeah.
you were running late, which is something you never do, and instead of saying, well, where are you? And how soon
Yeah.
can you get here? And, what happened? I just said, take your time. Are you okay? I'm just sitting here enjoying myself.
Well, first, besides feeling like just relieved, it just felt like, oh my goodness, if I were to extrapolate this 20 years from now, this would be a wonderful relationship, or at least the beginning of a wonderful relationship where, you know, we're just supporting each other. We're guardians of each other's souls, you know, which we were from even before we actually met in person, because you were really saying you must be, you know, exasperated, you know, trying to find this place because I kept missing the street. It was one name on one side of the street and another street sign on the other. I kept winding up in downtown Los Angeles. And so it it was a wonderful, welcoming feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And on my part, I feel that everything is based on trust and safety. And love really comes from that. So if I told you that I was going to do something, I made certain that I did. If I said, "Are you interested in going somewhere?" You know, I'd call the next morning with tickets. I didn't want you ever to be wondering, you know, if what I said, if I was going to follow through on plans. Um, and also, I started planning ahead. You know, we started, thinking about not just what we're going to do on Saturday night, but what we're going to do a month from now.
Mhm.
And so um, it was a natural, organic progression.
Well, and I think something a lot of women don't understand is that it was organic. I never stopped and wondered if you were into me, if am I asking the right questions? Do I need to check in with you and see where it's going? Because you let me know where it was going constantly by your interest, by always asking me out on the next date, by calling in to check in, just to check
Yeah.
in every once in a while,
Yeah.
just, or if you said, I'd love to take you to the Magic Castle, or I remember our first Halloween together.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was precious because you took me to that wonderful restaurant. I don't know if it's still there in
Oh, yes.
in Hollywood, like
Uh-huh.
around
Yeah.
Hollywood and Vine or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it was called Hollywood and
Uh-huh.
Vine. And then we went to go see The Ring, which was amazing. And it was so out of the box. We would never go see a movie like that now, but it was so sweet that you planned the date and you put so much thought into it. And then you took me back to your house to see your Halloween decorations. I think there were 3 of them. Benjamin is a minimalist. So for him, he really had the house decked out. But I never wondered. There was something so sweet and so kind and so thoughtful. Also, your generosity. You paid for everything, everything. And you did it with such heart and with such joy and such kindness.
Yeah. Well, I was just turning 50, almost 50. And, we weren't teenagers. We weren't like 14 years old where our parents were dropping us off at a coffee shop or a bowling alley where we would pay separately. I think that it's important that a man steps up and courts a woman.
But it wasn't just stepping up and courting. You took me to the nicest places every time we went out. It was special.
Uh-huh.
It really was special. And if it was a restaurant that you loved and you would say, like, I don't think the food was great there, but you took me to Il Cielo.
Right.
And it was so romantic. It's like considered or was considered the most romantic restaurant in Los Angeles. And
Yeah.
I remember sitting with you, and it had all the lights above and we were sitting there together and it was charming. It was just magical. And the fact that you wanted to take me to the most romantic restaurants in Los Angeles, it was so sweet that you thought of those things and that you always took me to such beautiful places or places that were trendy or different. You were always looking for something that was new or unique. And it also felt like we were exploring something together.
Yeah. And when we went to restaurants, we often closed them down
Mhm.
and we were so lost in conversation. And we had an intense curiosity for each other,
Mhm.
just like how we thought, what our opinions were. And there was a playfulness also.
Mhm.
It was the whole spectrum of, from serious to playful. And we couldn't get enough of each other,
Yeah.
And so we just, whether it was at a party or something, we would close the place down and not even realize other people, that everyone else had left.
Yeah. And then you did some things as we started getting to know each other on opposite sides of the city. And sometimes because you lived and worked in your home, you would come to me frequently. In fact, you did some things that just surprised me how open and receptive you were to being a part of my life. When I bought when I opened up the gift shop on Sunset Junction, and we had to tear down stuff and paint all
Yeah.
the walls and get it ready. You came and rolled up your sleeves and you
Right.
painted the walls and you got the space
Tore
ready.
down a wall, painted walls, redid the floors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that you would do those things. It was so sweet. There was nothing you weren't open to. And then we had only known each other a few months. I think we met when in September, because it was your birthday.
September 10th.
Right. Oh my God, that's her anniversary. So that was right. September 10th. September. So October, November, you came December, at the beginning of December, you met me in Santa Fe. You had Thanksgiving dinner with your parents. And then you flew to Santa Fe where my brother lived and where we now live.
At the end of November.
Thanksgiving, you flew. And the thing that was so sweet about that was I invited you thinking, well, I didn't know who you were going to spend the holiday with. And I thought, I'll just ask. And I was shocked when you said yes. And then you found the sweetest, the most beautiful Airbnb. You paid for the whole thing. And then you looked when you got there and you said, oh my goodness, this is a place for a party.
Right.
And I said, oh, my brother's birthday is December 1st. Right. And we called him and we said we wanted to throw him a birthday party. And then you said, let's go to Whole Foods. And you spent hundreds of dollars just on food for the party. And you'd never even met my brother. It was so sweet. You just one thing after another. So what were some other things, babe?
Well, I was very open to meeting your friends and introducing you to my friends also, and even parents after a short while. And you were very sweet with them. But I didn't want to sequester you. I didn't want to have my life and you were just part of it, but not integrated with the rest of my life. I wanted to integrate you into everything.
Yeah. And you did. You really did. Another thing that was really extraordinary was how transparent you were. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I think on our fifth date, when I thought that this was really going somewhere, I have some health issues. And I sat down and I just told you all of them and also my finances, which was fairly transparent anyway of what I make because, I charge X amount for each session. I do so many sessions a day. But I wanted you to know all of it, what I had saved and what I had invested, just so that you knew. And it wasn't just in the back of your mind wondering. I never wanted you to be wondering or afraid to ask anything. So if I were transparent, it would be easier for you to ask, if you had a question about something. There was no hiding anything.
The other thing you also did, which I thought was extraordinary, was you said to me very early on, I really like you and I really want to get to know you. And I'm not rushing into anything, including sex. I've tried that before and it doesn't work.
Right. We earlier today, we were actually talking about the long game, the short game and the long game. And I saw this as the long game, that if we rushed into something too quickly, it might have turned the relationship upside down, that we would become lovers before we became friends, before we had a lot of shared experiences together and really knew each other. So making love would be even more special. And so we waited and the passion just built. And I think sometimes the most passionate times of relationship is before, the intimacy. And, where it's just anticipation, it's excitement, it's getting to know each other, it's touching more And it was very exciting.
Yeah, and it was so sweet. We were both on the same page. I felt the same way, but at the same time, to have a man say something like that. The other thing you did, which I'm so grateful for, was you told me that you loved me very early on.
Mhm.
You know, within the first few months, it was very clear, and you didn't hold back.
Mm.
You weren't withholding. And I think that there's often a sense sometimes with some men where you just don't know where they stand.
Right.
And you were clear, you were transparent.
And sometimes a woman needs to hear those words. Even if a man feels it, um, it's important that he says it. And so um, when I knew what I felt, and I, not just at a moment, but a true feeling, a lasting feeling, I share that with you.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
amazing. And another thing um, was when I needed you, and I remember there was a moment when I went to the gynecologist and I had a little bit of a health scare. Everything turned out to be
uh,
okay. But it was so hard for me to call you about something
uh,
gynecological and
right.
tell you what was going on. And because of my history with my mother, who died of breast cancer when I was very, very young, I was so worried. And I don't blow things out of
Mm.
proportion. I'm not dramatic, but that was really scary for me. And it was even, if I'm going to be honest, looking back, more scary because I had met you. And I really, you
Mm.
know, when you love somebody and you have someone in your life, and then you think, oh my gosh, is everything just going to turn upside down overnight? And so I was very afraid that maybe I would hurt the relationship because I might be ill or something. But I called you and I remember you came over and you were so
Uh,
sweet and you laid down and you spooned me on the
uh,
bed and you just held me. And it felt like there was nowhere else in the world I wanted to be
oh,
than there with you.
oh,
And you made it so easy to be vulnerable with you about anything. And those have been some of the most beautiful moments
mm.
together. This just permission to share anything with you, anything. Yeah.
I also tried to support your goals. Like I knew that you were involved in weight loss then,
Hmm.
and we were living in two different places, and you used to weigh your food as part of the program that you were on. And I immediately got the best food scale I could find, and filled the kitchen with foods that were on your plan,
Yeah.
um, because I wanted you to know that I supported you
Hmm.
and supported your soul's journey.
Yeah. You were so sweet
Yeah.
that way. You really were. You were amazing. The other thing that you did was you made room for me in your place, which I thought was very, very sweet.
Right. I mean, I've had clients in Los Angeles, my former practice, where people would just like clear out a little bit of a closet for someone, and the person would never feel at home. I wanted you to feel that it was as much as your home as it was mine. And so you know, and in fact, when we did move in together, we both put all of our furniture on the front lawn and it was essentially just giving it away because, yard sales really don't really, because we wanted to start fresh together. I
Hmm.
didn't want you to live in my world and I didn't want to live in yours.
Yeah.
And it was so important that we create this together, and we would buy a couch or dining room sets or whatever it was, bedroom sets, that it was ours, not yours, not mine.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. And you said to me when you lived on Kelton, you said, go to IKEA and just get a closet, get something where you can put your things. And then a few months later, you said, go look for a house for which I
Right,
did,
right.
and which we did. It was very, very, very sweet. another thing that you did was you saw who I was.
Yeah. We talk about being the guardian of someone's soul, and it means seeing the person even more than they see themselves, and seeing the journey of their soul more clearly than they see that, and doing what one can do, what I could do to nourish that journey, even if it wasn't parallel to mine. Uh, I saw the direction you were going. And when we met, you were importing and manufacturing from Mexico and Vietnam. I'd hear you on the phone and you'd be talking at length with girlfriends about dating and their love lives. And I said, you're not a manufacturing importer. I mean, you couldn't have told me what your inventory was, what your accounts receivable were, any of that.
Yeah, true.
Because your passion wasn't there. And I saw where your passion was, and I did whatever I could to foster that.
Well, and you said you should be a coach or a therapist.
Right. And I found you a coaching school, and this was well over 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when I finished, I was getting my master's in spiritual psychology.
Yeah.
And when I finished that program, I enrolled shortly after that in the coaching training.
Yeah.
And then you supported me through the whole process. And really, you never told me what you had done when we moved to Sierra Bonita, when we got the house. I was not bringing in a lot of money, and you were working every minute you could.
I was starting at least 5 days a week at 6:30 in the morning and going straight through till early evening.
Yeah.
And because there was so much construction, it's always more than one plan on that. I was literally going to the bank and making deposits to cover what I was giving the carpenters and electricians and all. Yeah.
And you were very generous through years of me building my practice, many, many, many years, because I was educating myself and taking different courses and programs and all. And it wasn't until we met when I was 41, and it was a long time before I really, really got my practice to where it is now. I mean, this has been a whole different level when I created this course. But your love and support, your belief in me,
and respect, and respect, because even though your practice was far from what it is now, I respected how dedicated you were. And I've continued that respect in so many ways. I've tried never to keep you waiting. I respect your time. I respect I show my gratitude for everything that you do. Everything. Yeah. Constantly.
Yeah. Even when you're exhausted, you ask me if I want to go out, because you think sometimes you need to air me out.
Exactly.
Just to get me out of the house every once in a while. Yeah. But no, you're so thoughtful. You really take care of me, and you did from the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
You really did.
So you can tell if a guy is interested or into a woman, if he shows respect, and if he keeps trying to have the relationship progress, to get deeper, to become more vulnerable, more emotionally available, more playful, more integrated in each other's lives. If he could begin to see more of you than you could see of yourself, and more of your journey that you envision,
introducing you to family and friends, planning the future together, trips and vacations, and
transparency as far as health and finance, and not really sequestering you from anything or anything from you. Just, it's like, well, I'm not going to show you my bank account, or I'm not going to introduce you to this former girlfriend. Um, I, it was, everything was open.
Yeah, I mean, even your phone, putting your, allowing your phone to be there. We've always known
Yeah.
each other's passwords pretty much.
Yeah.
There's nothing secret
Yeah.
about nothing. I can go into your computer in a minute if I need to look for something, if I'm in the house and I don't want to come out to the office. I mean, there's just so much openness. We don't have anything hidden from each other at all, except you don't know what I got you for Christmas. You don't know, but you will soon. No, we talk about everything and share everything, and there was a feeling from the very beginning, a follow through, an attentiveness, a caring, a wanting on your part to make me feel safe and for me to know how you felt about me. I never had to ask.
Yeah.
I never, ever, ever had to ask you. You told me.
Yeah. We never have needed the relationship conversation. Where are you? How do you feel about the relationship? Where do you feel it's going? Because it was just transparent. It was just organic. I think I think it's vital for couples to have that conversation, but it's often only necessary if there's some hidden elements that the other person just doesn't know what's going on or what the other person is feeling.
Yeah. In fact, I remember, talk about transparency. One of the most extraordinary moments was that it was early morning and we received you got a telephone call, and it was from a jeweler or somebody who was looking for a diamond for a ring. Do you remember? And you didn't want to tell me what it was about, but you also didn't want me to think that you might be hiding something from me.
Right.
And in that moment, you made a call, and I remember you said to me, I wanted this to be a surprise, but I didn't want you to think I had any secrets.
Right.
And so you said, I'm looking for a diamond for you. It was very sweet.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel, the thing about our time was I didn't feel like, oh, you blew, you blew the surprise. Yeah. I saw the sweetness in not wanting that it was more important to you that there was safety and trust.
Right.
Than keeping a secret or, it was very sweet. Besides, you can't keep a surprise. No. When you get me a gift, you have to give it to me right then.
Right.
You're not very
so excited.
You do. Yeah. You're so sweet. Honey, can I ask you quickly, like, what was it that made you know that you wanted to pursue me? How did you know?
Well, I saw goodness in you. I saw an emotional availability. I had respect for how you were handling your life. I saw a playfulness, which was very important. And we've been playful ever since. And I saw that you were different from other women. You were, you had transparency. And that there was no pressure on me, that I should be doing something that I'm not doing. There was gratitude, and there was mutual care right from the beginning, right from the very beginning, even before we met. When I made that phone call to the restaurant when I was late, you cared about me, and I cared about you because I was just thinking, oh my goodness, there's a woman we've never met. It's our first date, and I'm like at least 20 minutes late, at least. And so we both cared about each other even before our eyes met.
Aw.
Yeah.
Very sweet. And we both love dogs.
We both love dogs.
That's a winner, right? How do you beat that?
Yeah.
And they've been a big part of our lives
Yeah.
since the day we met. Well, I think we might have just covered everything we needed to cover. Let's look at some of the comments here and just see. We'd love to hear from some of you if you're in a relationship and you don't know if it's going the right way, and you're uncertain. Are there some things that you might want to ask us? We would be more than happy to take a few minutes here. We have Mary, who's watching from Africa, from Kenya, which is so great. And Madeline, great to see you. And Ismay, lovely to see you as well. And we have a comment here from one of our listeners. Need to hear this again. It kept popping out and back, so it was a bit tough to hear it all. Good stuff, though. Uh-oh. I don't know if that was your connection or ours, so we'll have to look into that. We just got new internet service, so it could have been us. So we'll check into that, but thank you. And another listener said, wow, this makes me realize I have never met a guy like Benjamin. No, most men that I have been involved with are so good at avoiding anything that smells of a real relationship, but they want those benefits. Yup. And they keep replaying the hurts that some women did to them years ago. My goodness. Oh,
ouch.
Ouch. Anyone else want to ask a question about the sound kept shutting off?
Oh, no.
Bummer. And Benjamin is one of a kind. I wish for a very long time, I thought that Benjamin was one of a kind. We teach a 12-week course called Emotionally Naked Dating, where we show women how to attract men like Benjamin. And one of the beautiful things that Benjamin does, one of his gifts to the women in the program, is that he writes their online dating profiles. So he writes a long one for the dating websites, and he writes a shorter one for the apps. He calls the shorter ones dating haikus.
Right, because they have to be 300 characters, including spaces or less. But I do it because it's men who read the profiles. And so I write it as how a man would love to what he would want to see in a dating profile.
Well, and what you're really doing, Dave, is you're catching the attention of men like you. So the kinds of men our women meet very often are men like you. And so we've met a lot of wonderful men like Jim and Sam and
David
Way and David. Yeah, we've met some wonderful men like Benjamin through our clients, which has been magical. Hi, Liz. Liz wrote, the person I started dating, he just bought a home in April. I'm wondering if that would be a concern listening to your story. Liz, I don't know how long you've been together, and if that had been a plan of his for a long time, he may have been looking to buy a home for a long time. And it depends on when you met. Benjamin was working out of his home, but he was renting. And I had an apartment. I purposely had never bought a home because I had been waiting to meet my partner so that we could do that together. And so what happened was, when we met, it became a natural part of the progression of our relationship. So I don't know. It would depend a lot on the sequence of events.
And it also depends on, someone could own a home, could have lived there for a long time, how much they invite you to be an equal partner. I think that's the key.
Yeah. Let's see. You two are amazing. Have learned so much. Thank you for all you have done for me. Love you too. Thank you so much. Another listener says, I'm getting a lot of positive comments from men on the profile he wrote for me. I'm talking regularly with one of
Oh, that's
them.
great.
Oh my
That means a
goodness.
lot.
That's fantastic. This is one of the women who is in our course or has gone through the course who sent in this comment. And surprisingly, I never get tired of hearing from our clients when they come on group calls. We do group coaching calls for the program twice a week. And one of the greatest joys for Benjamin and me is when a woman comes on the call who's just gotten her profile back and is astounded at how many amazing responses she's getting. And she'll say, oh my gosh, I've been on and off the dating sites for years and I never got comments like this, and I've never connected with men like this. So it's really a joy for us to be able to see that happen. We never get tired of it. Anybody else? Any other questions about men you're seeing? Anybody who wants to hit Benjamin and me up for a little advice if you should continue seeing somebody? One of the things I know for sure, and I see this over and over and over again with our clients, is that a lot of women miss these beautiful gestures that men are making. We have a way of like I said, over analyzing things. And we have expectations of how we want things to look. And so very often we will get in our heads and we'll be analyzing things and it won't look exactly the way we think it should look. And so we'll miss the nuances of what men are doing for us. I'll give a great example. One of my clients, her boyfriend bought her some lingerie from Victoria's Secret. I think it was for Valentine's Day. And she likes La Perla. And so when he gave her the lingerie, she was visibly disappointed. And I can only imagine, truly, I can only imagine how he felt when he saw her reaction. She wasn't excited, and I think she may have even said something to him about it. And I can imagine a guy going to Victoria's Secret and having the salesperson help him pick out something for his girlfriend and then her not being happy. And we see this all the time. We had an instance where another woman had really wanted this guy that she was seeing to open up to her. And he walked her down to her car. And then when she was getting in the car, he said something like, please be patient with me. I really got hurt in my last relationship. And then she came on a group call and she said, oh, that's all he said. All he said was that. And I really wanted to know more. And Benjamin and I looked at each other and we were like, that's pretty vulnerable for a guy, right? And she missed that he was being vulnerable with her. So very, very sad. Liz said, if a man is shy, can I get your opinion on that?
Well, shyness also is coupled with lack of emotional availability.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is shy, often they're kind of hiding something, or they don't like something about themselves and they retreat. And it's very difficult to be with a shy person if there's not that flow of exchange of vulnerability, availability, playfulness.
Yeah.
So it may come with trust and safety. We never know someone's history, but establishing trust and safety and mutual shared experiences. I think that's and then see how he responds.
Yeah. And Juliana, another listener, said, do you have a course for men? And we are in the process, Juliana, of bringing men into our course, our existing course. We're probably going to do that next year. We've had a couple of men go through the
Yeah,
program.
we had a gentleman who lives in rural Iowa. You know, he's a very successful businessman, but rural Iowa. He wound up dating by chance someone who had graduated Lisa's Emotionally and Naked dating course. And, you know, he said it was the most extraordinary date he's ever been on in his entire life. And this was the most extraordinary woman. And he asked if there was a course for men. And he was so excited and so sincere that we let him into the course, and we asked the women if it would be all right. And he added a lot to it.
Yeah, he added, but he also got a lot out of it.
Yes, he did. They're together happily ever after now.
Yeah, they're very, very happy together. So we'd like to bring men into the course. We've been getting a lot of requests for that, and there's nothing out there like what we do for men. So it is definitely on the list. All right, everybody. Well, thank you to everybody who tuned in. Please do us a favor, like and rate the podcast. Send us your requests for future conversations. We read every single email. We take this to heart. It is very important that these subjects are relevant to all of you. So please let us know what you want us to talk about. Go to my website and click the link to watch my free 45-minute presentation. Many women have said it was eye-opening. And if you like what you hear, you can jump on a call with me or a member of my team to talk to us about how we can help you find your Benjamin.
And the website is simply lisashield.com.
lisashield.com. You can also send us your comments to podcast@lisashield.com. You can rate and like our Facebook Live. Please give us a thumbs up and a heart. It means a lot to us to know that you are enjoying these presentations. And please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. And finally, tell your daughters and your sisters and your mothers and your brothers and your uncles and your guy friends and your girlfriends, everyone you know about this broadcast, about our podcast. We really want to get the word out. There is nobody saying what we're saying in the way that we're saying it, with heart, with authenticity, with kindness, with love. So please come back and see us again next week. Love to you all, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye-bye.